Okay, on questions 6 and 7, we're going to look at the end behavior and x and y intercepts. Now, on the end behavior here, you're going to need to look at this term, okay? And since 3 is odd, we know that this is going to be a disco function, and because it's positive, we know it's going to be going down on the left and up to the right. So as you work from left to right, it's going to continue to increase on its way up. And that's because this is a positive 3. If it's odd, it goes up. Okay? Then next thing we want to do is find the x and y intercepts. Okay? And that we're going to use our calculator for. So if we take the equation and we plug it into our calculator here, we've got y equals x to the third minus 5x squared plus x plus 7. And we're going to hit graph on that. And we're going to rezoom. We're going to zoom 6 on that. And we're going to look to see what the graph looks like. And this graph here looks fairly nice. Looks like this is at what approximately looks like -1. This looks like it's between 1 and 2. And this looks like it's between 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. So let's see if the whole number works out correctly first. So for your whole number, we thought that our whole number was -1. And since y is 0, it does appear to be -1. Again, if we look at the graph, that looked like it was -1, and it is. So one of your x-intercepts is the point -1, 0. Okay. Then the next point here looked like it was between 1 and 2. So if we look at the table, if we look between point 1 and 2 here, you see it goes from +4 to -3. Well, obviously there has to be a 0 in between there. Now we're not going to be able to read it off the calculator, but we can get it off the graph. So what we're going to do is we're going to use the calculate feature. Remember the calculate feature on your calculator. You're going to hit second and the trace button. That'll allow you to calculate. Remember the x-intercepts are called zeros, so we're going to go to option number 2. And then it's going to ask you 3 questions down there. It's going to ask you to be on the left-hand side of that point, this point right there. Then it's going to ask you to be on the right-hand side of that point, and then it's going to ask you to make a guess. So we're looking for this point, and currently our cursor's up here, which looks like that's the left-hand side of this particular point. So I'm going to go ahead and hit enter. Now I'm going to ask you to go to the right-hand side of this point. So we're going to move our cursor to the right until it hops on the other side of that point. Okay, now I'm on the right-hand side of that point. So I'm going to hit enter. Then it's going to say make a guess. Well, I always just hit enter again for my guess. You can move it closer to the x-intercept, or you can just hit guess, enter, and it'll move right onto the x-axis. So your 0 is approximately 1.6 if you go to the nearest tenth, which is what they asked you for. They said nearest tenth. So this is 1.6 comma 0. Okay, now we have one more x-intercept to find over here. So let's calculate that one out as well. So second in the calc. And we're going to find the 0 again. Okay. Now our cursor is right here, but we need to get it over past this x-intercept. So we're going to move to the right a little bit. I'll move to the right quite a bit. Okay. So this is currently on the left-hand side of this point. So I'm going to hit enter here. And then if I move to the right a little bit more, I can move on to the right-hand side of that x-intercept, hit enter. And I guess I'll just hit enter one more time. And it moves my cursor right onto that point. So it looks like that 0 is approximately 4.4. So this is 4.4 comma 0. So those are your 3 x-intercepts. Okay? And on a test, if you want to write that as -1 comma 1.6 comma 4.4, I'm okay with that. Just don't put parentheses around that. Okay? For the y-intercept looks like it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, looks like around 7. Y-intercept's always easy. Looking at the table, you just got to go to x equals 0, and you can see at x equals 0, y is 7. Or on your equation, this is always your y-intercept. Whatever the constant is, is your y-intercept, because if this is all 0, this goes away, that goes away, and you're left with y equals 0. Okay, so you're actually you're left with y equals 0 plus the constant, which in this case is 7. So this is the 0.07, or you could just list it out as 7 if you'd like on the test. Okay, so let's do one more. Let's do number 7. Okay, the end behavior, since this is a third power and it's positive again, the end behavior on this one is the same. It's going up, up, and you could always verify that on your calculator when you hit graph. So here's my equation typed in, x to the third power plus x squared minus 6x. Hit graph. If you need to resume, hit zoom 6. Okay. And this one looks pretty nice. Looks like this is at -3, that's at 0, and this is at +2. Let's check that out. Let's go to the table of values. Let's go to -3. -3 is a 0. Look at 0. Looks like that's a 0, and +2 is also a 0. So our x-intercepts are -3, 0. We have 0, 0. And we have 2, 0. So those are your 3 x-intercept points, and your y-intercept looks like that's the origin, so that's 0, 0. Okay, so that's how you find your end behavior and your x and y intercepts using your calculator, your table, and just your understanding of the equations. Okay.